Hi, welcome to This Week in Property. I'm Jayashree Kurup, I'm editor MBTV, and I have with me Prabhakar Sinha. He's the real estate editor of the Times of India.
Hello.
Today we're talking about what can budget 2019 give you. Will there be, this is the second of our series, and budget is to come out soon. So let's, on the 5th. On the 5th, the budget 2019 will come. Remember, the same government has already launched an interim budget before the elections, and this budget is expected to reinforce those principles. Nothing much changes here. But there are some burning issues in the real estate industry which really needs to be addressed. With so many, this is especially from the North Indian markets where 50% of the stuck projects are there. Will the government be able to assign some funds to complete those stuck projects? Now, Prabhakar, we were talking to the industry, did a sample survey with the industry. Many people feel that if the government provides funds, then those funds can go to the good players and the bad players. Today, there is a weeding out that's happening, and the government is very wary of making funds available across the board because the quality of the industry is actually going up. It's the serious players are staying, and the once non-serious players, fly-by-nights, are moving away. Do you think creating a stressed asset fund will do that?
Yeah, basically now this budget is going to address this problem, start project problem, which is affecting the entire real estate sector, and not
especially
only
the North Indian market.
North Indian market. Not only that, more than 3 lakh crore rupees get stuck.
Right.
Now, if the government does do something particularly to revive those projects, and those projects are get completed, so then they will come in the mainstream, and so then money will start rotating. And so far as this stress asset fund goes, now government is not going to lose anything out of that. They have only to create that fund and give it to some special purpose vehicle under REDA, which should operate under REDA, and that fund should only be used to kick-start the project. Once the project is started, money starts flowing in from the buyers, or when the project is completed, the unsold units can be sold in the market and money can be recovered from there also, and then that SPV which have invested the initial fund to kickstart that project can be returned to them with interest. Only thing is this, that right now, earlier in the interim budget when the government had presented, at that time also government considered this. Not only this, if you remember, high level committee was formed under Durga Shankar Mishra by the UP government, and they also had suggested to create
a 2,000 crore stress asset fund for UP alone.
UP alone.
Yeah.
Now, but the government developed cold feet mainly because of the criticism, expected criticism from the opposition party, that this government is pro developer or pro builder, and so this is they are doing it.
Now that fear is not there.
Not fear is not there. So I believe that government should utilize this opportunity to bring in that asset, that fund, so that at least a stall projects comes into the mainstream. However, nobody is here arguing for that those developers who have siphoned up the fund should be let go like that, scot-free. They should be punished, and a government should continue or should start a parallel investigation against those developers, and if they have taken away the money, disgorgement should be allowed so that money should come back to pay, first of all, for the delay to as a damages to the buyers, or otherwise to complete the other kind of things to that in that project. But at least projects should be completed anyhow, and this is the responsibility of the government, because government is responsible for the system, and here this has happened because of systemic failure, and government is responsible for that, and so the government must do something to correct that position.
Right, and one of the things that the consumers, you know that the JP buyers have been agitating, this time they've taken to the streets. They were agitating at Jantar Mantar last weekend. The point is that the JP buyers say that the only thing that is required is that there should be some money that comes in to make that house, right? And also, who is to build the house? Somebody with credibility. When we did a survey the last time when we did a JP show, we found that 100 out of 100 buyers wanted NBCC to build the houses. Is there any budgetary input that can come in?
That is not required in this case. In fact, let me tell you here, in the case of JP, the problem has confounded, or I mean, it has
Compounded actually.
compounded mainly because this has gone to NCLT. Had it gone to RERA, then RERA would have just gone for the completing that. Now, in this market where asset is at such a discounted price, when you are taking out the fund from a project, that project becomes completely unviable.
Right.
So, had it gone to the RERA first, RERA would have just gone for the completing the project, and there is enough money in the system right now in this company, particularly JP, that project could have been completed even with the NBCC.
And NBCC has come up with a plan of completing by 2023.
And once the project is completed, lot of fund can be generated from that project itself, which can be used to repay the lenders also. But here NCLT is not trying out that, but NCLT is thinking that right now the money should be generated so that the lenders could be paid and the project should be completed. So nothing is happening.
Right.
Neither the lenders are getting the money nor the projects are getting completed. Had it gone to RERA, RERA would have...
And the lenders are not losing much, Prabhakar. Lenders are not losing much, but the consumer continues to pay the EMI. He pays the rent, he pays the EMI, and he is also paying the lawyers to fight this battle.
For them-
Today it is a triple whammy for the consumer.
Yeah, it's bad. In fact, their life is miserable. I mean, this is very unfortunate situation in a country like India, which call themselves a welfare state. There, the end users, the buyers can suffer like this. I mean, what can you call it?
25,000 buyers
Yeah.
in one project, one developer alone.
This is shame.
And we believe that one of the things that we would like Budget 2019 to address is where will that money come from? Today, while there are forensic audits that can be done, you can check the money trails and you can bring the money back in some cases. But the consumers don't have the waiting power anymore. They are 10 to 12 years late.
Yeah.
If that is so, the consumer, either give the consumer a tax holiday, an EMI holiday. Can the consumer stop paying his EMI till you sort out the mess and their
Exactly.
house is completed? Will Budget 2019 be strong enough to say that today we ease the burden on the consumer will not have to pay an EMI till the house is complete and handed over, then the EMI will kickstart again. Because actually, Prabhakar, if you see, it is the lenders who were at fault. The lenders knew what was happening within the companies. Lenders were directors on the boards.
Yeah.
And if the lenders did not check at that point of time, today they have absolutely no moral right to say, I will pull back my money.
Yeah.
And that is what the consumers are fighting, and Magic Bricks supports them.
The mess
Magic
is
Bricks
created by the lenders, not by the buyers. In
Yes.
fact, buyers had no idea. They raised the demand and buyers paid the money.
Yes.
And today now you are saying that no, I can't give you the flat because we have to pay back the lender. I
Yes.
mean, this is very unfortunate situation.
So today Magic Bricks is batting in favor of the consumer and saying, will Budget 2019 make the funds available so that those people who are stuck with projects that are not being completed, that have not been delivered, will their stress ease? The stressed asset fund, the EMI holiday, these are all things that will give the consumer a breather. Can the
And
consumer
company
get
like
a breather?
Amrapali requires a stress asset fund, so
Yes.
that funds should start flowing in and the buyers should start paying their last installment, and with that money the stress asset funds can be returned their money which they have invested in that project, and the project can be completed. And for not only Amrapali, there are so many other projects, thousands of such projects are there in this market, more than 3 lakh apartments. That was as per the estimated of this high level committee is in Noida itself,
Yeah.
Noida, Greater Noida, and the rest around 2 lakh projects are in Gurgaon, Faridabad, Ghaziabad, and other markets.
Right.
So there are more than 5 lakh apartments are there in NCR region which are stalled.
And if 5 lakh units are stalled, that means that let's assume at least 50% of them were sold. That means that 2.5 lakh consumers are today battling, paying their EMI, paying their rent, and paying the legal fees so that they can
think
fight
of their
them.
hardship. Now many
Yes.
of these projects were sold 10 years back.
Yeah.
By now those buyers are retired.
Yeah.
And they don't know where to go.
Right, and when you don't have a regular income and you have 3 outflows, it is not easy. So we bat for those buyers. We would like Budget 2019 to take cognizance of this and give some respite to those
Exactly.
embattled
Government should
consumers.
come out with some kind of a plan to complete those projects. I don't know.
Considering the suffering, I think what's being done is way too little.
Yeah, and it seems that Supreme Court has failed now. Look, in the case of JP also, they had returned that entire matter to NCLT, and NCLT is finding it difficult. Now it is on the brink of going to the liquidations. So that means even the NCLT has failed. Now Supreme Court is trying to address the problem in Amrapali case also, and there also it seems that the solution can't be found. Now Supreme Court is asking the authority or the NCLT to look into the matter to complete the course. So this is very clear because government had.
A legal system cannot bring money, cannot bring laws. The legal system can work within the existing network of laws, and the kind of flouting of laws that has happened in the last 10 years requires more than just execution of the law. It requires legal intervention. It needs executive intervention to solve the problem.
To Parliament also. In
Yes,
fact, they should
yes.
make a law, certain kind of a law like that refund cannot be allowed till the project is completed.
Yes.
And so many, because many courts have given this kind of a judgment that they give them the return with the 10% with the project's money. Now the project doesn't have money to complete the project itself. Now if the refund starts, then nobody will get that money.
And that is the crux of the issue. 50% of the buyers were investors. They wanted to make money off their investments. The markets tanked, they have not made money. But the more important thing is that the project did not get completed because there was a lot of siphoning out of funds out of that system, or it was sold at unnatural rates, which could not have completed the projects. Today, if both of them are in the right, the home buyers, when they ask for the house to be completed, they are in the right. The investor, when he asks for his money back, that's also part of the legal system. Now, somewhere you will have to put a moratorium there saying, I will not allow the money to go out of the system till the house is complete. After that, the investor can decide whether he wants a completed asset or he wants his money back.
Yeah.
Right? But
Exactly.
without completing the asset, can the investor take his money back? That is what the system is grappling with, and that is one of the biggest issues that the budget 2019, that the government, the Modi government 2.0 has to decide how to tackle this.
Exactly. This is the big issue.
This is-
And this is affecting the economy also.
This is
Government must understand this, that this is affecting the economy. If they correct this, it will allow the economy also to go up.
According to ANAROC data, a total stock of 5.6 lakh delayed housing units worth 4,51,750 crore is what we are grabbing.
Imagine.
4,51,750 crore.
Imagine.
Every consumer who's struggling is contributing to this.
And that means that this much money is stuck. Now it is
Yes.
not contributing to your economic activity.
Now, it was
No.
launched in 2013 or before that, which means that from 2009 to 13 is when the projects were launched. Had the projects completed, there are at least 10 to 15 industries which would have gone forward because the housing has forward and backward linkages to so many more projects.
Yeah.
Now, so many more industries. Will the housing be considered a feeder industry which will actually pull out many other industries from the doldrums, is something that we have to see. Budget is something that can actually give direction, this direction.
They must try to address this issue. If they will address this issue, they will be able to sort out lot of problem in lot of other industries also. In fact, it will lead to creation of the job also. But government should take it very, very seriously. I don't know, for last 2-3 years government is just silent. They are not acting very aggressively on this issue.
Right. The other thing is, Prabhakar, right now the real estate industry is completely starved of funds. Even developers who are building their houses, they are completely starved of funds. The banks are not lending because the risk weightage is very high. The private equity is not lending because, as one of the experts explained to us, it was, if the private equity fund did not make money, it was all right with it. But the developer made money, the ecosystem made money, but the equity fund did not make money, and the equity funds are more or less miffed about that whole thing. As a result, and REITs is only for commercial, A-grade commercial properties, which means that where will the funds come from to complete
And
projects?
buyers are not coming
and these
forward.
buyer money is not flowing at all,
At all.
which means that somewhere to give a boost to this industry, to get it off the ground, there has to be some kind of infusion of funds,
Yeah.
and the budget may be able to give a direction to this.
Here I have a point to make. Now look, now I understand that.
1 minute, Prabhakar, we have a poll running. Even while you listen to our analysis, do take our poll. The poll says, what do you expect from budget 2019? Home loan, tax rebate, EMI holiday for stuck projects, stress funds or stressed asset funds, and or tax rebate for rental housing. Do take our poll. We'll give you the results at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Please go on.
Now, look, I understand that in India, investors are not taken in a very high spirit, particularly in the real estate sector. But at the same time, we must recognize the fact that investor is required for driving an industry or any sector. Now, in real estate sector, when suppose a project is getting developed in a far-flung area, which right now seems to be completely out of the way, and it seems that nobody can go and live there. Investor can take a decision or can take a dip onto that and say that, okay, I'll buy in this. And you have seen it, that many such kind of a clusters have been developed, and later that cluster come out as a very, very premium segment of in the entire region. Now, having that investors, now earlier if you remember what used to happen, that if you are buying a house, first house, second house or third house, then the entire interest paid on that house was considered to be an expenditure, and that was allowed to be deducted from the taxable income from the other heads. But in 2017 they changed that thing, and they said that the maximum deduction that can be availed for that is only rupees 2 lakh. 2 lakhs means the loan of 20 lakhs only. So that means you can't buy even one house.
Yeah.
Now what about a 5 or 10 house? Earlier what used to happen, that if you have bought a house for 2 crore of rupees, then and if you have taken a loan of 2 crore rupees, then the entire interest of 20 lakh rupees that paid in a year was deducted from your salaried income or any other income for the taxable income. So you are getting a benefit if you are 30% tax bracket, so at least 6 lakh of rupees. So this was used as a tax saving instrument, but at the same time the money was flowing into the real estate sector. Since 2017, these high net worth individuals, they have completely walked out from this sector. So I believe that now it is the time, and we have seen it, that from 2017 real estate sector has further gone down. Now, if the government is thinking that they can segregate the two things, the premium housing and the affordable housing, in a two different part, and they will allow only affordable housing to grow, that doesn't happen. It will always work as a sector.
It is an ecosystem.
It is ecosystem.
It is cross-functional. The premium sector inflows are used with tax incentives to be invested into the affordable segment.
Also. So government should reintroduce that system again, and they should allow for purchase of the house if one is buying for the investment purpose. In that there is only thing that when you are buying a house from the investment purpose, and then you'll have to put it on rent, and the rental income will be taken into your total income. So the rental income is only 1.5 to 2% of the total capital value. So suppose there is a 2 crore rupees house, then the total rental income will be at the most 3 lakh rupees or 4 lakh of rupees. But the interest outgo is 20 lakh rupees. So still you are getting 16 lakh rupees to be deducted from your taxable income. So that was huge amount. So they should do this again, they should bring back that again, so that the housing sector can start attracting fund, and the investors should come back to the housing sector to invest.
But here, Prabhakar, a rider, what really happened was, if you look at the assets that are unsold inventories in the cities, one analysis that we did, we found that, take Mumbai city for instance, in the up to 50 lakh category, 45-50 lakh category, the amount of stock complete and waiting to move is very little. In the middle income category, shall we say up to about a crore or 1.25 crore in Mumbai market, which is the middle income category, there the amount of stock that is completed and ready to move in which is still to be sold, is again a small amount. But in the luxury category, the amount of stock that is completed and still to be sold is rather high, which means that what was happening was, because that gave you, that was easier to sell, or it gave you better returns, developers were building in that. One of the safeguards that the government needs to put in is, for any developer who sells X amount of luxury stock has to create Y amount of affordable housing.
That can also be done.
And
But besides that, let me tell you, this is a market economy.
Yeah.
Now there are so many developers are in the market. Now today what is happening, that this premium segment is completely saturated. Now they can't sell it. So developers are not entering into that market. So either they have two options, either not to be in the real estate sector, or if that all, then they built up the lower segments market. So now if you continue, now look, in India, the real estate sector is, the real aggressive real estate sector is not more than 20 years old. That means it was all started in 2000.
1998 was the first
99,
housing and
first
habitat
housing.
policy.
1999 and that 2000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the first 10 years they would have gone for the premium segment because return was very high. When that was saturated, they had no option but to go to the lower segment. So, if the money is in the system, and so long as there is that zeal or that animal spirit to invest, work in the real estate sector, I believe they would have built the house of the lower segment, and now, by now, if the upper segment is completely saturated, they would have gone for the affordable segment also. Wherever there is money.
And give
there
tax
is-
incentives.
And tax incentives.
80IB 10, when it was given between 2005 and 2012, it created one level of housing from the private sector which was affordable, which was good,
Exactly.
good quality,
Yeah.
and which was not in the boondocks.
Yeah.
It was actually within the cities, because they were given good tax incentives. The same thing, the tax incentives that have been given to the developers recently, what Prabhakar says, more and more people building in the affordable segment. One of the major reasons for moving in is
Yeah,
that there are tax
yeah,
incentives.
80IB, yeah.
80IB. So use tax incentives and also use a mix of all segments of the market. The market rules itself, but you will have to, you can't kill one segment of the market to
Promote the other segment.
promote the other segment, because then money is becoming a big
Yeah.
problem.
And the market get completely skewed, and you can't help it. You can't go like that.
Okay, let me take some of the queries that have started coming in. There is Karan Sharma of Delhi, who says, will budget 2019 allocate funds for stuck projects? I bought a flat in a housing project and the builder is bankrupt now. Should we expect this budget to give something to buyers like me? Can a budget give?
Yeah, they should. They must address this problem. That's
The
what we are
stressed
arguing
asset
for.
fund that we are talking about, that is something that we feel that the government needs to give and put accountability for that fund. Today RERA is there. There is more monitoring possible, and that stressed asset fund should be able to get these projects
Yeah.
moving. But at the same time,
There is talk on that line that
Yes.
this might happen.
and there is at the same time, it does not mean that the builder who siphoned out your funds is absolved. His forensic audit, finding the money trail and bringing the money back, and punishing him for taking the money out of the system.
It should be done. It
It
must
should
be
be
done.
done.
It must be done.
It is actually very criminal.
Very criminal, yeah.
There is Nidhi Singh of Noida, who bought a 2 BHK flat in one of the Amrapali projects and is waiting for completion. The builder has no money to complete the project. There is no clarity who will take over. What has the government in mind for buyers like me? Nidhi, unfortunately, this is right now with the courts, with the Supreme Court, until it comes out of the court we can't see any solution coming there. But unless the court frees it for any authority to take over, I don't think the Amrapali case can go through to resolution. It is more or less at a standstill because the court is trying to find some solution.
Some
there.
solution.
There is Deepak Singh, who says real estate industry is battling liquidity crisis on all fronts. I think budget should ensure that money starts coming in housing purchase process. Don't give stressed funds, but just ensure that money starts rolling at least for fresh projects as they are needed for housing for all target. No, Deepak. The housing for all target requires the developers to build, but that again does not mean that you give money for budget housing and not. There is so many projects that are ready to be completed on the ground, and if more projects are given it's not good economic sense. Therefore, the developers themselves, if you look in the last 2 years, have hardly launched any projects. It's not because they don't have land, it's not because they cannot get sanctions, it's because the market's capacity to absorb this extra flats is not there. Therefore, the first thing is to give a push and get the market, the machinery oiled, so that the existing stressed assets get start selling. The consumer has money, has access to money to buy projects. The consumer is waiting and watching because there is nothing that's giving him the confidence that if he buys, his project will be ready. Therefore, they're only buying those projects which are complete with occupancy certificates, which is GST free, and that is why the consumer is sitting on the fence. When projects are complete, if they are livable and they are well priced, the consumer is buying. So I don't think giving a boost to more housing is the solution here. There is घर खरीदना अच्छा है या किराए पे रहना. This is Yogesh Singh Naik, one of our frequent followers. योगेश, एक्चुअली अभी क्या हो रहा है, बहुत सारे लोग रेंट पे रह रहे हैं. जब मार्केट का एक सिस्टम है कि जब लोग घर खरीदना बंद करते हैं तो वो रेंटल मार्केट उठता है, मगर रेंटल मार्केट उठा नहीं है अभी. बहुत ज्यादा ट्रांजैक्शंस हैं, मगर क्योंकि बहुत सारा स्टॉक भी आया है मार्केट में, रेंटल मार्केट्स आर वेरी फ्लैट. वैल्यूज बढ़े नहीं है, बहुत ऑप्शंस हैं और बहुत सारे कंज्यूमर्स भी हैं. तो आपको लगता है अभी खरीदना चाहिए अगर आपको वो घर मिले जो आपके प्राइस ब्रैकेट में रहता है, और अगर आप उसको आपको अच्छी निगोशिएटेड वैल्यू मिल रही है, तो आज सबसे अच्छा मौका है. मगर ये मौका आपको अगले 6-8 महीने तक और रहेगा. तो आपके पास ढूंढने का, असेस करने का, इवैल्यूएट करने का वक्त है अभी, और तब तक आप रेंट पे रह सकते हैं.
इसमें एक बात और भी है कि आप रेंट पे, आप मान लीजिए कि एक कार खरीदते हैं और अगर उस कार को रोज आप मुश्किल से 20 किलोमीटर ऑफिस जाते हैं या 15 किलोमीटर जाते हैं और आते हैं, 30 किलोमीटर चलाते हैं, तो अगर उसका कार का EMI जोड़ लें और सब कुछ जोड़ के देखिए तो आपको पर किलोमीटर कम से कम 20-25 रुपया पड़ेगा. लेकिन फिर भी आप कार खरीदते हैं क्योंकि आपको एक सिक्योरिटी देता है और आपको एक लाइफस्टाइल देता है. ठीक उसी तरह से आप चाहें तो किराए पे भी आज के दिन ओला उबर पे आपके घर पे आपके पास कार आ जाएगा. ठीक उसी तरह से घर खरीदना, भले आप हम भी बोलते हैं कि साहब आपको कम से कम 50 लाख का घर खरीदे तो 5 लाख रुपया आपको कम से कम EMI देना पड़ेगा, 50,000 रुपया EMI देना पड़ेगा, और वो घर आप 10,000 रुपया में किराए पे भी रह सकते हैं. लेकिन जो एक मेंटल सिक्योरिटी है, नंबर 1. नंबर 2, एक इन्वेस्टमेंट है जो कि अब हम मानते हैं कि ठीक है ये 15% 20% का रिटर्न नहीं देगा शायद, लेकिन 20 साल के दरमियान, 25 साल के दरमियान अगर आप जोड़ के देखेंगे तो शायद वो भी आपको 10 या 12% का रिटर्न देगा. भले 3 साल में ना दे, 4 साल में ना दे, 5 साल में ना दे, लेकिन सबसे बड़ी बात सिक्योरिटी. आज आपके पास जॉब है, भगवान न करे कि कल ना हो, लेकिन फिर भी अगर वो आपका अपना घर है तो आप उसमें रह सकते हैं. हाँ, EMI अगर आपने पे कर दिया हो तब, मैं ये नहीं कर रहा हूँ कि आप EMI, लेकिन आपको आपके बच्चे के लिए एक सिक्योरिटी होगा. तो घर खरीदने का एक अलग फायदा है, किराए पे रहने का एक अलग फायदा है, और मेरे विचार से वो ठीक वैसा ही है जैसे कि आप बोलेंगे कि ऐसा हम तो भाड़े पे ही कार पे चलते हैं, हम जो है सो अपना कार नहीं खरीदते हैं.
एक्चुअली द थिंग इज दैट जो घर आप खरीद सकते हैं, जो आपके बजट में बैठता है, शायद आपका एस्पिरेशन एक बेटर लोकेशन का, एक बिगर हाउस का है, तब अगर आप जिस घर में रहना चाहते हैं उसको आप अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकते, तो आप कुछ वक्त के लिए वहां पे रेंट पे रह सकते हैं. बट ट्राई एंड वर्क टुवर्ड्स ओनिंग योर हाउस, बिकॉज हाउस ओनरशिप, लाइक प्रभाकर सेड, गिव्स यू अ काइंड ऑफ सिक्योरिटी व्हिच अदर
एग्जैक्टली
assets don't give. There is Nitin Rajput who says, I think the housing industry में इतने issues हैं कि एक बजट में सोच के या करके काम नहीं चलेगा. बजट से पहले और बाद भी कुछ करना चाहिए. I agree with you, and I think the government also agrees with you, because last week the government has given a directional announcement of what all it plans to do. रेरा को थोड़ा और strengthen करेंगे, एक unified रेरा portal बनाएंगे जहां एक city का solution और cities पे भी जा सकता है, and other रेरास can draw upon each other. Actually the problem is that अभी जो दो चार issues sort करने हैं, एक तो finance का issue है, दूसरा multiple एजेंसीज का इशू है, तीसरा इन्वेस्टर्स जो पैसा खींच रहे हैं फ्रॉम स्टक प्रोजेक्ट्स, वो एक इशू है. Unless you sort out these issues, it is very difficult for this industry to get going. These are like brakes on the industry, and you need to actually free them from these brakes for the industry to go on. And the biggest thing is, CREDAI recently met the finance minister, I think just 2 days ago, and they have place the industry's problems in front of the finance minister. We are hoping that there will be some positive outcome from that. They've met the RBI. They are trying to make sure that the powers that be understand that this is an industry. If you let it sink, it will take down the economy with it, and that is why it is important.
Similarly, the issue of NBFC. Now, NBFC is a very key segment, not only for but real estate sector only. It is also for other MSME or other sector also. But the government must address the problem of the NBFC, or must try to fund it so that it becomes, it should have a liquidity to
Yes.
fund the real estate as well as the MSME or other sector. So, but you can't say that real estate sector is for that NBFC is required to be done. But when their government is addressing NBFC problem, that is the finance sector problems.
Right.
But finance sector problem is also the problem of real estate sector. So it is the cross sector, and at the same time this kind of a thing continues. If you remember in 2007-8,
Yes.
there was a problem of plenty. So much money was flowing into the real estate sector that RBI had to put in lot many speed breakers so that the people should not invest in the real estate sector. So it's an ongoing thing, regulations, and it's not that once you do it and you can leave it forever.
It's just that you can't allow a sector to go into a crisis, especially a sector that's an economic indicator. We talk about the housing starts in the US. But if you have zero housing starts in India, we are not giving it the kind of importance it needs.
Yeah.
That means that the Indian economy cannot perform because the housing starts are not there. It is a cycle that has to be rebuilt, and for that there has to be some credible intervention. There's Vijay Kumar of Gurgaon who says, I'm a salaried person and planning to buy a flat in Gurgaon. Right now the tax liability is too much for home buyers. Will tax rules be eased for home buyers in this budget? Do you think so?
Yeah, particularly now only one thing, I believe that other taxes have already been rationalized. But the one problem is there that stamp duty should also be subsumed into the GST. That is the only thing you can say. Or otherwise now there is, I believe that government should go for it, that 5% and 1% GST on normal housing and affordable housing should be with ITC, input tax credit. And because government should not use this sector for the tax collection. Government should use this sector to drive the economy. And for that, tax collections should be limited to, just understand that how the sector is performing, and to have a kind of a track of investment of various people or the industry also. Beyond that, I believe that the government should not use it with the 5% and 1% thing. Whatever the government is making, I believe the government will invest more than that to create job in other sectors.
And we have been consistently saying that removing the input tax credit from GST is not a wise move.
It's a regressive step.
It is very regressive. Remember that right now, actually the government needs to respond to the problem as is on the ground. Today, what's the problem? That there are more houses, even as houses get completed, it's becoming difficult to sell certain segments of the market. Who can buy those segments of the market? You can't ignore luxury housing or premium housing, saying that that is a segment that we're not focusing on. That is a segment that can kickstart the money flow into the real estate sector, because the same guys who built the premium housing are the ones who will bring that money back to build in the affordable segments. Yeah. Therefore, if there is any tax rebates for the consumer to buy more than one house, what will happen is this stuck stock will get liquidated, money will come into the system. As money comes into the system, today there are checks and balances to make sure that that money does not get used for other purposes. Therefore, we feel that that is something that the government may want to think about. Vivek Sharma of Pune says, I am a first-time home buyer planning to buy a 3 BHK flat in Pune. What kind of tax rebate and other subsidies am I eligible for? Will this change in the upcoming
Under
budget?
CLSS, you will get tax subsidies up to, if you are in the tax bracket of income
Up to-
bracket of
up
9
to
lakh
eight-
of rupees
Up
or
to 18 lakh.
18 lakh of rupees, you will get a benefit of something around 2.4 lakh rupees upfront. And for that, you will have to, when you are going to buy a house, you take loan. And when you are taking the loan, you tell him that my income is this much and this is my first house. They will get you the CLSS.
And
credit limit
that
subsidies.
brings down your EMI by 2.4 to 2.7 lakh, 2,700, 2,400 to 2,700 every
Yeah,
month.
every month, yeah.
There is, and also, tell him about the tax incentives.
Yeah, tax incentive besides this, basically if you are buying a house, then if you are taking the loan, then suppose you have taken 30 lakh of rupees loan. So on 30 lakh of rupees loan, annually you will pay an interest of around 3 lakh of rupees. Out of that 3 lakh of rupees, 1,50,000 rupees, you will get as a deduction against your taxable income. If your taxable income, say, for annual taxable income is 10 lakh of rupees, out of that 1,50,000 rupees deducted, and so 8.5 lakh rupees will be there, and you'll have to pay tax only on 8.5 lakh rupees. So you will get a benefit of around 30,000 to 45,000 rupees. That depends on the in which tax bracket you are. If you are in the 30% tax bracket, the benefit will be 30% of 1,50,000, that is 45,000 rupees. So, and besides that, whatever principal you are repaying, that principal amount every year, now first year it will be very small amount, say 10-15,000 rupees, and second year it will keep on increasing. That principal amount will also can be used for ATC benefit. That means up to 1 lakh of rupees benefit you will get. This amount also get deducted from your taxable income. But there is a problem in that under ATC there are so many other heads are also there. That means like EPF, PF, mutual fund investment, and even the school fees of your children, and all those heads are also there. But still this amount, that principal amount that you are repaying, that will also be used for the deduction purpose. So this will also add to your deduction, so you will get more than around 50,000 rupees tax deduction, tax benefit. But this, all these benefits will happen only if you get the possession of the house, not before the possession of the house. So now here you'll have to understand, so you should try to buy a house which is nearing possession. So within 1 year if you are getting the possession, so the year you will get the possession, you can get this benefit. Or
So
otherwise,
if the developer delays the flat, the consumer is.
It's a big problem.
Consumer does not get the benefit of the principal.
yeah, now the problem here is this, that according to law, that you should take the possession within 5 years of the purchase of the house to get this benefit. So, I mean, you should look into this matter also. So you should buy a house which should be nearing completion, or it should be completed within 2 to 3 years, not more than that, because if it is spilled over beyond 5 years, so then there will be a problem. You'll have to justify the delay and all that, then only you will be able to get it.
So
Otherwise,
Prabhakar, has a whole generation of buyers actually lost out on this benefit?
look, it was earlier only 3 years. So then we did a story in 2017 that now everybody has crossed 3 years. So now government should consider this. So then government extended it to from 3 years to 5 years. But now
But we
it's
have projects that are 5 to
10
12 years late.
Yeah. So I believe now the government should allow anybody, whosoever gets this benefit once the house is completed.
Right.
Whether it is after 10 years of the purchase or 12 years of the purchase should not matter.
Because the consumer was not responsible for the delay.
Exactly. Not only this, what I suggest that now the day you have purchased the house, you should start availing the benefit, because it is earlier this was the problem for, as you suggested, that for the construction by the buyers himself, the loan taker himself.
Yeah.
Now, if I have taken the loan and I have started taking the benefit, I might not complete the house at all, and I will still start taking the benefit. So to avoid that situation, government said that no, this benefit will be available only once the house is completed. But now here I am buying a house from a developer, and I have no control over the construction of the house.
Absolutely.
So for that matter, now once I have purchased, I should be allowed to take that benefit of 80C and 24A also, that 150,000 rupees deduction, and so these two benefit you will get.
There is Kailash Kumar of Navi Mumbai who says the overall limit under section 80C remains to be 1.5 lakh, which the government is expected to increase to 2 lakh. Do you think so?
Yeah, now look, 1 lakh or 1.5 lakh, they should try to do it, because the additional benefit is given only for the infrastructure bond, if you are investing in the infrastructure bond. Otherwise, in the normal head, it is up to 1 lakh only, and beyond that, so
Do you think this threshold will be raised?
should increase. But
They have been asking for it to be increased to about 3 lakhs, right?
yeah, 2 lakhs rupees
2
at
lakhs.
least. At least 2 lakhs rupees. But there is a demand, and I hope that they should do it. But now one thing is there, that government has increased the tax level itself.
Yeah.
From earlier it was 2 lakh to 2.5 lakh.
Yeah.
Then they increased it and they have taken it up to 5 lakh of rupees. I mean, if one has an earning of 5 lakh rupees, there is no tax on that.
Yeah.
So in that situation, whether this deduction will be allowed up to 2 lakh or 3 lakh rupees, that is doubtful.
Yeah.
But beyond, more than that, I believe what government should do, that at least on the interest element on home loan, the entire amount should be allowed deduction against the income. So that will help bring down the interest rate. Now, why I am asking for this? Mainly because at present, when inflation is between 3 to 4%, and home loan rate is somewhere around 9% to 10%, the real rate of interest is 7%, around 6 to 7%. Now, this is too high. Normally, the real rate of interest world over is 1% to 2%. Now, this particularly at a time when there is hardly any appreciation in the sector, real estate or in the housing sector, no investor would like to invest in the housing sector. So to enable people to invest in this sector, they should bring down the interest cost a bit. Now, if they will allow the deduction, then the interest cost will come down from 10% or 9% to somewhere around 7%. So 7% is still tolerable, but if it remains at 10% or 9%, I believe that, or otherwise government should bring down the tax rate, so interest rate. They should work out so that they should increase the liquidity to an extent that interest rate should come down to 7%.
Sonia Reddy of Chennai says, what kind of subsidies and tax rebates government is planning to introduce in the upcoming budget for home buyers? We just spoke about it. Sonia, I hope you've heard our analysis.
Yeah.
We think that there should be some amount of tax rebates. In an industry that's starved of good news, even a small tax rebate will actually contribute to a huge boost in sentiment. Don't you
Yeah.
agree?
And not only this, now look, otherwise, now look what is happening today. You are making purchasing a house, a very difficult task, because interest rate is so high.
Yeah.
Unless you and this is two reasons. Not only that the real rate of interest is very high, but your yield, that rental yield is very low in this country. So difference is huge. So government must try to reduce that gap.
Yes.
And for that gap, interest cost should be reduced. Now here I am not asking you to give dole or subsidy to the developer. Give subsidy to the buyers, end users.
Yeah.
Now if the buyer is buying a house, now if you are giving, this is a tax is what? Tax is a kind of expenditure for him.
Yeah.
Now so why don't you give benefit against that expenditure?
Right.
Reduce his income by that amount at least, so that his tax liability goes down as his net interest cost comes down. If they will do it, and suppose more number of houses are getting sold, more money goes into the creating of the asset, that will create the GDP, or that will drive the GDP also.
Right. Also, Prabhakar, we've talked about it, we've marginally referred to it today. I would like to put it on the table that the stamp duty that is levied is way too high, and it makes transactions in real estate very cumbersome and expensive. When you sell a house, you have to pay that 5, 6, some states have 12%, up to 12% stamp duty. When you buy another, you've sold one, you've bought another, and there also you have to pay so much. As a result, even those who want to use this depressed market conditions to upgrade the quality of their house, this takes away from the benefits of selling one, buying another. You're paying taxes on both sides, and anyway you're paying your GST, right?
Yeah.
It really needs to be subsumed into the GST, and the government needs to think about it very seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, the market, whole real estate market is very illiquid today.
Yes. And you need more liquidity in this market, and I think ultimately it's the free flow of consumer funds that is going to be the mover of this industry like it was earlier. That free flow will only come when you give consumers more reason to put that money in and get the benefits out of it. There's Prakash Chaturvedi of Gurgaon, who says he lives in a rental home in a high-rise society and paying a monthly rental of rupees 25,000. What can I expect in the upcoming budget which can help me buy a home here?
Now, 25,000 rupees rent he is paying, and in which market he stay?
Gurgaon.
Now, for that, you have.
Approximately a house worth 25,000 per month in Gurgaon is roughly, the cost of that house is roughly 1.5 crore.
Yeah.
And if you can afford to buy a house for 1.5 crore, and that more and more consumers want to buy that house in a complete so that you get the GST benefit, which means that if you have a salary of up to 18 lakh and it's your first house, I'm assuming because you're staying on rent, it could be your first house. If it is your first house, you get the CLSS benefit. So every month, whatever your interest rate is, your EMI is, you'll get a 2.4 to 2.68 or something, 1,000 rupees less. That is the CLSS benefit. You also get the benefits of
24A of 150,000 rupee deduction against the interest
Yes.
paid, and plus on the principal amount it. But this put together will not give you more than 3,000 rupees per month. So the total you will get benefit of something around 30,000 rupees per month. I mean, you can afford 30,000, 32,000 rupees per month. So you'll have to increase your payout. I mean, if you can do it, and then I suggest you that go a bit far away from the central part of the Gurgaon to buy a house for say 60 lakh, 65 lakh rupees, because you'll have to compromise on the distance and also on the space to buy a house in this kind of a budget. And but then you will be owning a house.
But remember that the connectivity in Gurgaon is improving significantly. A new metro line has been sanctioned. There are more metro lines that are in the works. There are new connectivity, road connectivity is enhanced. And is being enhanced further. So you will see that what is far away today in the next 4-5 years may not be as far or
2
take
years
so much
also. So you'll have to go either Dwarka Expressway Road or the new Gurgaon side, or otherwise if you're working in Delhi, I'll suggest
or
you to come to
Sona,
Noida.
or towards Sona or something like
And if
that.
you're working in Delhi, then
Yes.
don't think of living in Gurgaon. You can come to the Noida side. There you can get a house for 40 lakh, 45 lakh, 50 lakh rupees. But that too in Greater Noida side, and for 50 lakh rupees you'll have to pay around 45,000 rupees or 40,000 rupees per month kind of EMI.
Right. Brijesh Mathur of Delhi says, I am paying a monthly rental of 60,000 in South Delhi. I live here as my kids are studying nearby and my workplace is also located close to my house. What are the rebates I can claim? Will budget increase more rebates to people paying high rents? I don't think so.
No.
All consumers are the same.
No, HRA that he is getting, that rebate he will get 30% of his income, or the rental paid, whichever is higher, whichever is lower, that much deduction you
But
must be
just
getting
because
it.
you're paying a higher rental, you won't get better rebates.
Yeah.
The rebates remain more or less the same. We
Same.
expect that 1.5 lakh deduction to probably go up to about 2 lakh deduction.
Yeah, no, but for the rental, this is only connected
Yeah.
with the HRA. It is
Yeah.
nothing with the.
Yeah, and you're not looking to buy. So
Yeah.
for rental income, I don't think there is any motivation here. Ajit Kumar of Pune says, I applied for PMAY CLSS subsidy, still waiting for it. It has been 6 months. Is there a funding problem behind this delay? We think it's an operational inefficiency that
Yeah.
is delaying
From
it.
the bank side.
From the banks, many banks are, it means a lot more effort by the banks. But some of the banks which has actually come out with a lot of CLSS, for instance, HDFC has
Yeah.
given 1 million CLSS. CLSS benefits to 1 million home buyers, but even they are struggling. Somewhere the system, the operational efficiency of the system has not worked.
Yeah.
The NHB and the HUDCO, the two government agencies which have to give out the CLSS benefits, have not been extremely efficient in this process.
Yeah.
Banks themselves don't want to give themselves more work, because when the system's operational efficiency is not good, that means that the bank has to deploy so many more personnel to work towards that. And actually, it's not a funding problem, it's more like getting
Yeah,
the...
Government is very aggressive.
Prabhakar, it's not enough to be aggressive. It's enough, if you're aggressive, you have to fix the problem. And it is close to 2 years since the government has given this out, and the government has not been able to fix this problem. Whether it is at the bank level or whether it's at the NHB or HUDCO level, both report to the government of India. And if they cannot bring
From the
the...
point of view that fund availability.
Funds have been made available,
is
but
made
unless
available.
those funds go out to the consumer, it's not going to create more
Yeah,
better sentiment in the market.
NHB is developing, I mean, they're trying to put, I should not say, but they are not forthcoming.
Yes.
They still are not very confident in releasing the funds. They think that, no, whether it is the first house or the second house, because all this benefit should be given to the first house.
And the government
So-
has said that all you have to do is give an affidavit.
Yeah.
The onus is on the consumer to prove that this is his first house. The onus is not on the bank to go and check whether he's got a previous house.
Yeah.
Therefore, I don't think the system is to blame. I think it is that the guys who have to disburse are dragging their feet, and it really needs more strengthening. There is Chandresh Singh of Gurgaon who says, despite repo rate cut, home loans don't come down. Why is it so? Will budget do something to bring down interest rates? Budget cannot bring interest rates down.
Interest rate, I mean, I told you earlier here in this show that interest rate is linked with the repo rate, but not, it has no direct link with the repo. Repo rate is an indication that interest should be lowered, but it depends on the cost of the fund, that is the deposit rates. If the deposit rates cannot be lowered, the interest rate on loan also cannot be lowered. Now today the government is raising lot of funds from the banks or taking lot of loans from the market. So there is hardly any fund left in the system, and because of that, what is happening that the banks are not flush with the funds. Banks are required to raise more and more deposits, and so they cannot lower the deposit rate, and so they cannot lower the lending rates. So for that, liquidity situation has to be improved. Now for that,
Will government leave more money in the banks for the industry to borrow?
Exactly.
Actually,
So-
that is the crux
That
of
is
the
the
whole
crux.
matter. Today, the government of India is borrowing so heavily from the banks that it leaves very little money for the industry, to raise. And when the industry is starved of funds, it is very difficult for the industry to push the economy forward.
Yeah.
There is Ritik Paul of Kolkata who says, will there be any change in tax structure for salaried class under ATC in this budget? Right now, a salaried class is left with no money to buy the house, especially people living in rental homes.
the
How will
interim
the
budget, they have already done it. No, they can't do this.
if you buy a house that is complete without GST, and today there are a lot of houses that are in the market in stages of completion, then you can avail of all the benefits and don't pay the rental income. So try and many people like you have been using that route. They are trying to figure out whether they can get completed houses where GST you don't have to pay. That means the cost comes down by that 1 or 5%, and also that you don't have to bear the burden of an EMI and rental. Therefore, try and figure out whether you can get a completed house. Will the budget give any extra discounts? We don't anticipate that right now. Prakash Rao of Greater Noida, why is the government not giving funds to complete stuck projects? Many buyers are suffering, but the government is not able to find any solution so far on this. It's a complex problem. If the government makes funds available, those same default builders who were not efficiently managing your funds will also get more funds to complete the projects. On the other hand, if that stressed asset fund comes, they can invest that into the projects, complete it, get the market cycle moving, and start launching fresh projects or selling these projects. Now, if the government cannot release funds randomly. The government is accountable for it. It is your money and mine, the taxes that we pay, that goes to the government, and that is what the government is playing around with. Now, can the government give money to the same sector that defaulted? That is the whole issue that the government is dealing with. Even though both the Niti Aayog as well as the UP government had almost reached the brink of launching these funds, stress asset funds, to complete these projects, it still needs more. It is a very complex issue, and if they are accountable for it, they don't want to stick their neck out, and that's where the problem is. There is Avinash Kumar of Faridabad who says, I have a loan in my name taken to construct my family house. I want to avail PMAY CLSS subsidy. Will I be eligible to buy a house in my name? If the original house is not in your name, then you can raise a loan to buy another house, you can still avail of the CLSS subsidy. And you can buy a PMAY house to get a CLSS subsidy, or buy in the required sizes and prices so that you will be able to get the subsidy. And that's where we are going to come to the end of the show. We had run a poll here. What do you expect from budget 2019? Home loan tax rebate, EMI holiday for stuck projects, stress funds, or tax rebate for rental housing?
For home loan tax rebate, 25%.
25% people said it's for home loan tax rebate.
EMI, 50%.
50% people want an EMI holiday for stuck projects.
Stress fund assets, 25%.
25% of people said stress funds. Tax rebate for rental housing, we have no takers for it. Clearly, the EMI holiday thought seems to be very strong, and just as we are finishing, there's Vijay Rao of Gurgaon who says, why do PMAY houses not offer car parking slots? This is a whole different issue altogether. Today we're talking about the budget expectations.
It's affordable housing.
No, in PMAY, under PMAY, there is no provision for car parks. If the house is registered by the developer under PMAY, the houses come without car parks. All that is mandated is scooter parks or bike parks. As a result, even though the house costs, shall we say, 25 lakhs or so, 25-30 lakhs, a consumer who can afford to buy a house for 30 lakhs can surely afford to buy a car for 3 lakhs. It's only 10%. But the powers that be have determined that if you buy a small house, all you have is a two-wheeler and not a four-wheeler. Today, that is not the reality on the ground, and we agree with you that this is going to create problems. We have raised it earlier, we have raised it on content.magicbricks as well, but there is no answer to this. The government's law says that smaller houses get scooter parkings and not car parks. And the issue you raised is significant enough. We will pick it up in a subsequent issue. Thank you so much for watching this Week in Property. I'm Jayashree Kurup, and this is Prabhakar Sinha.
Thank you.